Okay, this is back purfling. This happens to be bloodwood, maple, bloodwood, and you can see how I have this offset pattern. And we'll show you how to do that. I can't stress it enough. You really have to clamp this very well, because if you don't, it will cup. But you can see it's very simple. So, from here, we're ready to resaw it and separate it into pieces that we can use on the back. All right. Now, these have to go through the sander. If you take a look at the saw that I'm using, I'm actually using a fret blade saw. And I'm using that because it has a very small kerf and makes a very clean cut. Now, the other thing, you see I have a drill bit here. So what I've done, and you can do this any way you want, you're going to set up stops so I can make different size pieces so I can glue up. So here, as you can see, I'm using maple, bloodwood, maple, bloodwood, maple, bloodwood, and I'm cutting two different, that gives you that step. So you can see when I cut this, that comes to that stop right there, and I can cut the little pieces. Don't put your fingers in there. So that gives me my little piece, and that hole there gives me the longer piece. So remember, you're always opposite. We're doing a checkerboard kind of a pattern. So if you look here on this layout, maple, bloodwood, let's see, where's my maple one? Let's see, maple, and here we are. So you can see that's the setup, and I'm going to need another maple one. So you can see how nice and clean that cuts. So there we have, that is the whole ball of wax right here. And you can see how long it is. So from here out to here, we're at 22 inches. So we have enough room to do up to a 12 fret dread. So when I go to glue this together, I do prefer to use tight bond. All right. It's very important to get a nice, even coat of glue. I will use wax paper for this process. I also should tell you that I am using particularly 40 thousandths. So I made these all 40 thousandths. Width is irrelevant, just that you want to make them all reasonably the same width. If you make them too wide, they cut like crazy, and that's not good. So I generally do them 2-3 inches wide, and that's it. Now when I put the glue on here, you can have too much. So I just take this and I'm going to kind of paint it on, so more or less. But I want a nice, good, even coat. And you can see I'm getting a good coat of glue on there, and even coat. That's the important thing, even coat. Now, when you go to put the pieces in, maple, I'll put a little bit of extra right down the middle because I'm going to grab a bit of this glue so it comes in to stick in here. So you can see I'm getting glue between the joint. See the glue coming up? And remember, you can do whatever you want. There is no one way to do it, but you can see, kind of pay attention that you keep going opposite, opposite. And I got to put a little bit more glue in there because I'm not getting enough to build up in the middle. And this will actually work pretty quickly. I generally keep them clamped up overnight because of the water content and the warpage effect. And I've used this for a number of things. It's a simple pattern to make, and you can use up your scraps out of your box. And you can, actually I want to do some of this with bloodwood and black with ebony. I think that's going to make it look neat. So you can see white, dark, white, dark, white, dark, white, dark, white, dark. And so you just want to make sure you don't kind of bollocks up your pattern, because that's easy to do. And there we are. I want to put a maple. I need a piece of maple yet, a long one. My long one. So now we have everything.
Do-si-do.
There we go. So now we have the bottom part, we have the middle part, now we do the top part. And you want to make sure that you kind of get all of this pushed together because you don't want any gappy joints. And how much glue you want to use is up to you, but I just like a nice smooth, I want a good cover. You can use your fingers, you can use a brush, and I'm kind of smearing it on here pretty good. The important thing is to get that good coating, because if you don't, you're going to have gaps. Okay, and you can always run a little bit down the middle yet. And I'm just going to give it a good light smear. Now, this goes on top of here. And I'm going to kind of rub it in a little bit. Now, I'm going to take this to my granite plate for the glue up. I put this on so that I don't have to worry about it getting glued to something I don't want it glued to. I'm going to put this here. And this goes on here because it's flat. And it's wider than my actual strip. So you can see, that way I keep the ends from cupping up. And that is definitely something you don't want to happen. I generally come up here and get at one end. And I will give it a good squish. I like it pretty tight. And I'm checking, good, I'm over the corners. Good. And this, so I have the edges, so the edges won't cup up. That, I just can't stress that enough. That is very important. So now, if you give it 45 minutes, you could probably unclamp it, but I'm just convinced, leave it overnight. You aren't in that big of a rush. But you can be very creative in the mosaic design you want to make. And that is just how I did it. So there you go. If you don't have a thickness sander, but you got a good table saw, a planer blade will cut it clean enough that you could glue this up. So there you go. From my shop to yours. Save the scrap, make some money.